everything lit. Oh, you fancy, huh?
Girls, let me see your hands. Wave them at them bitches hating on you with their friends. Girl, you got it.
Hey slay babes, so today I'm back with another look. This is the look we did for a photo shoot. So if you guys want to see how I got this graphic liner look, just keep on watching. So I actually had forgot to press record, so I already did her right eyebrows, but I'm going to take my NYX like the liquid brow pen, and I think it is in the shade ash brown. They don't have too many colors, but this is a brown shade and not black. I just went in and did light strokes on the tail of her eyebrow. I didn't really do too much in the front, but I did go through and do some strikes in the front, and then I went through and concealed her eyebrows. With this look, we're going to go for like a natural-esque brow. I'm not trying to really do so much on the brow because the lid is going to have so much going on. So I'm going to go through and conceal her brows. Y'all know I do a two-step brow, so I like to do a darker concealer in the front and then a lighter concealer on the tail of her eyebrow. I know on the tail I use warm beige. I'm going to guess I use butterscotch in the front of her eyebrows because I use the same colors like every time. So I'm pretty sure this is butterscotch, but I'm going to take this and just line her brow and then fill in a little bit where I'm going to do her lid. And like I said, this is going to be warm beige, and I'm just going to take it slowly and go all the way out past the tail of her eyebrow. After I go through and add concealer on her lid, I'm just going to take this Real Technique brush and I'm going to buff both of those colors together by tapping over the concealer on her lid. I want to tap it out until it becomes completely even. You can tell if you have too much products in certain places if you move around the face and it's a bit more shiny in some areas. That's how you know you need to blend out a little more. And then I'm going to go through with this taper brush and I'm just going to set the lid with some Dermablend translucent powder. I like to take this translucent powder and go over the beginning of the brows as well, just to add some ombre into them so they look a bit more natural. So now I'm going to take my Wet n Wild. This is actually a lip liner pencil if I'm not mistaken, and I'm just going to draw out where I want to do her cut crease. I usually draw out where I want to do specific stuff before I go through with anything, so that way I can make sure it's even and make sure it's the actual shape that I want on the eyelid. I'm going to take this same pencil and like run it across where the tape is so that way I have like a good stencil of the edge. I'm also going to take this in the front all the way into the corner of her eye because I'm going to do a cat eye, so I really wanted to draw this out and make it really dramatic. After I get the shape that I want, I just go through with this liner brush I got from Shein with some Inkblot gel liner, and I'm going to go over that same shape I did with my Wet n Wild pencil. And this is going to add that darkness, and I'm not going to do anything above this. I kind of want it to be like a negative space type of thing, and so I'm just going to go over and trace exactly where I put that brown liner. After I get my line exactly how I want it, I just went through with this brow brush and I blended out that Inkblot gel liner in the same shape that I laid it down. So I'm basically just smoking it out a little bit. Now, as always, if you're going to do something like this, you want to make sure that you move very, very slowly because I'm not really trying to go back and correct any of this line. So I just make sure that it is exactly where I want it because this is some black gel liner. There is no taking this off. As you can see, I'm going to blend all the way down into her inner corner. I'm going to use this as a stencil for where I want to do her cat eyeliner later on. When I take the tape off and the pad underneath her eyes, you guys will see the exact shape. After blending just the gel liner out, mind you, there was nothing on that eyebrow brush. I was just blending out the gel liner. Now I'm going to go through with this flat brush and I'm going to blend out that same line, but I'm going to use some black from my Nuvia 2 palette. I think that's what it is. And I'm just going to take this black, you can take any black, and I'm just going to smoke that out with some actual eyeshadow so that way it'll be easier to blend that into the other eyeshadows I'm going to add later on. We're going to do black, and then I'm going to do gray, and then I'm going to do nude from that same palette. So this whole look was done with one palette. My looks come out so precise because I take my time, y'all. I'm damn near in her lap when I do this. I kid y'all not. I'm trying to get like up close and personal. So I'm going to take this small blending brush, and y'all can see it's a gray. I'm just going to blend out that black with the gray, trying to stay as close to that line as possible. I'm not trying to add too much gray to the middle of her eyelid because I'm going to go through and lighten it up with the eyeshadow later on. And I'm just going to also take this gray like across the wing liner and in the inner corner where I'm going to do that cat eye. After I get that gray shadow exactly how I want it, I'm going to take that nude from the same palette and I'm just going to tap it onto her eyelid. When I'm doing this shadow too, I'm still staying in that same shape. So you can see I'm sort of blending out that gray and that black with the same color, and I'm making sure I stay in that shape that I did for her eyes. After I got a good shape, I'm going to go through and do partial of the graphic liner now and then do partial of it later after I finish her face. So I'm just going to take this liner and sort of mimic where I did her cut crease. And I kind of messed up in the front. You can see it in the pictures, but you can't really see right here. Oh, you can see it right here. Never mind, y'all. So I messed up in the front. You can see it. It's okay. It's makeup. So I did a line to mimic her crease. And then I'm going to do 2 vertical lines to connect it to the cut crease. And I'm going to fill in the inside. I did something like this before and I only did like one section, one little block in between the cut crease. So I decided to add a second one in. So I'm going to do 2 of the little blocks underneath the mimic cut crease line. And then I'm going to make sure I fill it in with black so it sort of blends into the top of the cut crease. And y'all got to excuse my model. I don't know. It's like every time somebody sit in my chair, they go to sleep. So y'all gonna see her moving every once in a while. She just taking a little nap. I always encourage everybody, they feel sleepy, go to sleep, take a nap. By the time you wake up, your makeup will be done. After I took the tape off, I just did the skincare routine off of camera, and I went through with my NARS foundation in the shade Macao and Tahoe. Now, I do Macao, and then I put like half a pump of Tahoe in here because she's really close to the Macao. I have to get some more foundations because I've been running out, so I just mixed these 2 together. So this is the layout I like to do for my concealer. Normally I don't take the concealer so high, but because I had to go through and clean up like the edge of the liner, I took the concealer a little higher than I usually would. I'm just going to take that same brush I did her foundation with, and I'm just going to tap out the edges underneath her eyes, on her chin, her nose, and her forehead. Now when I blend out, I like to leave the inside so it can like build some coverage. I just go through with the blush, and I'm just going to add this on the top of her cheekbones. And I'm pretty sure I used my Mocha Makes blush, cream brush stick. And I'm just going to tap that out with that same brush as well. As y'all can see, even though I use that really bright concealer everywhere, it blends out seamlessly, especially on her forehead above her eyebrows. I just really love a blend. Now for the inner corners of her eyes, I added a little bit of that warm beige, the same thing I did underneath her arch and her eyebrow, and I'm just going to blend that out with a triangle powder puff. I like to use this on the corners so the eyes don't water as much, and it blends out pretty well. I always have my clients look up during this part, and I try not to talk to them because when you talk, you have a tendency to move your eyes and stuff, and you need this under eye not to crease as much as possible. So just have them look up to the ceiling and try not to talk, child. when it's completely blended to my liking, I'm going to go through and set her under eye with banana bread. And I just like to take a thin layer of this powder. This is from Huda. I just like to take a thin layer and tap underneath her eyes. I also use this to bake on her nose and to set her forehead area. I set this whole forehead area, even the contour, because I like to even it out a little bit. And I also use this shade to set her chin. After all her areas are set, I'm just going to have her look up again, and I'm going to be baking her face with some Derma Blend translucent powder. This is the same powder I used to set her eyelids, and I'm just going to add this powder all the way up until her temple. I usually, again, don't drag it up this much, but because we did the concealer that high, I'm going to bake that high. I don't really worry about putting too much baking powder on the edges because I'm going to go through later when I do my blush and it'll sort of blend out the edges. Now, I actually forgot to do her nose contour, so I ended up doing her nose contour and then going back and baking again. But this is me blending out the contour and the blush. So for her contour, I use my KO palette, the complexion palette with all the colors. I also use my R8 to do some bronzing. I used like a little bit of my ColourPop bronzer, but I really didn't like the shade. Like, it was adding too much pink, so it gave blush, and I really didn't want it to give blush, so I didn't use that much of it once I realized it was the shade that I didn't want. And then I used my Area K blush palette to do some blush on her face. So to contour around her forehead area, I used my KKAO palette, the complexion palette I was just talking about. I used that to contour her face. I also used that to contour her nose as well. When I was putting on her blush, I found it really difficult this time because I was really trying not to get this pink powder on her liner. Like, if it was going to get on that black, it was going to just upset my soul. So there is a little part right there that looks not blended under the right eye where her blush is, but I go back and blend it in at the end. Now, y'all know I like to bake during the whole makeup process, so I usually don't wipe off the translucent powder until the end, but I went ahead and wiped off all the translucent powder so I can go through and do the graphic liner underneath her eyes. So I don't know what happened. I must have deleted the clip, but I reverse contoured underneath her cheekbones with some translucent powder from Derma Blend. But just like the other translucent powder, I'm just going to tap this in with that taper brush so that way I can get it off her face so I can go through and do my next step. So sometimes when you're removing the setting powder and you're pressing it into the skin, the bronzer and the blush can sort of disappear. So I'm just going to go through and add some more bronzer and add some more blush so I can put that color back onto her face. Well, now here comes my favorite part. I don't know why. Doing this line on the outside of the liner really, like, it just brings the look together when you're doing graphic liner looks like this. So again, the same thing I did for the liner on top of her cut crease, I'm just going to mimic that liner shape, and then I'm going to go through and do two horizontal lines with a slight curve in it, and then I'm just going to fill it in with the same eyeliner I'm using to draw it on. So I used a NYX Vivid Matte liner, but I also went through with some Inglot so that way it can get even more matte and blend in with the eyeshadow. Now, all I can say when doing this, I know I've been preaching this whole tutorial, but please take your time. This took me so long the first time because, like, doing the little curve and the shape, it gets to look weird sometimes. But if you get it to the shape that you want, it'll be perfect. So I had these little silver rhinestones in my rhinestone collection. I've literally never used these, but I struck some inspiration from Cardi B, and I really wish these were spikes, but they weren't. So I just put them sort of in the same place I seen her in her music video. So I put them on her nose, and then I went through and just put some randomly around her cut crease. Now these are probably actually one of the easiest looks I've ever done, so I'm only going to do some liner and some lip gloss. Y'all, funny story, when I first started doing makeup, I was so scared to do lipstick. I don't know why, I was just so scared to do lipstick, so I would only do lip liner and lip gloss. But when I started doing my whole lip routine, the look just became so much better, like mwah, chef's kiss. But this look, this grunge look I decided to go for, really needed this type of lip. So I just went through with my Ruby Kiss eyeliner. Yes, this is an eyeliner. And I lined her lips. And then I went through and blended it out with my disposable lip brush. The same thing I would do in my regular lip routine. And then I just added some clear lip gloss, the same way I would in my regular lip routine. I go through with the clear lip gloss on the liner first, because you do not want that liner to transfer to the inside of the lips. And then I go through and do some clear liner in the middle. And then I had her just pat her lips together so it could blend out a little bit more. I know there's really no need to do all this because she just has liner and lip gloss, but I just like to make sure that the lips look perfect, so I do some extra securing. After I did my lip liner, I realized the lash glue was dry on my lashes, so I just went through and added them onto her eyes. And y'all know the way I do my lashes. I go through and do some dual lash glue on the lid, dual lash glue on the lash band, apply the eyelash from the corner of the eye to the inner corner. And that is exactly how I do it every single time. Oh, and these lashes, baby, these lashes, they from Shein. Yeah, these some Shein lashes, okay? I have fallen in love with these lashes just as much as I love my Amazon lashes, and I have ordered about 30 more pair. So I wanted a little bit of sparkle on the eyes, so I decided to add some J. LaRue White Diamond powder, and I just tapped this on with a blending brush onto her eyelid, and then I went through with that taper brush and like brushed it all the way on her face, because if y'all ever use this, y'all know it gets every single place on the face, on the hair, on the lips, on the clothes. Y'all can see it's on her cheeks. I did not mean for it to get there, but I just go through with this same taper brush I use for her translucent powder, and I just wipe all that away. To set her face, I'm going to go through with some Morphe Continuous setting spray, and I'm going to spray this all over her face while I cover up her eyelids, because when you do a matte shadow and you spray, sometimes the spray can leave like raindrop puddles on the eyelid, and you don't want the eyelid to look patchy, so I just cover it up, and then I'm going to tap in all of that spray into her face. I'm going to take this loose highlighter from Juvia's Place, and this is the same highlighter I literally use in every single video unless they're like super lighter than her, and I use my Becca, but I'm using it on the tip of her nose, on the bridge of her nose, and I just dust it in between the middle of her eyebrows. And just like that, that is it. So if you like this tutorial, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notifications on, and like and comment, and make sure you follow me on all my social media at I am Shanti Slays. Bye y'all.